let's go ahead and move on to my different take on what happened yesterday. And my take has always been there being reactionary instead of being proactive. Maybe not. They are being proactive. I just don't agree with how they're using their how they're being proactive. They're putting more onus on the civilians. Now, I'm bring up this article because when I say they putting the more pressure on civilians, not pressure, but more laws. This is an article that says the new Texas legislation that they have right now, Texas House Bill 1147, is a third grader too young for training kids with bleeding kids. What this article, well, I'm not even going to do that. This is where Bo of the fifth column comes in, and Bo can explain this a whole lot better than I can. And he's going to go step by step of how crazy this legislation is.
Because there is some legislation. It is HB 1147 if you would like to read this for yourself. Before we get into it, I want to point out this is the second version of this video. Not the second take, second version. The first version was me just providing the training in the way it would need to be done for this particular situation. After reviewing it, I realized that might be a little much. So I'm still going to talk about it. So just a heads up. Okay. So the legislation would require the district or charter school to annually offer instruction on the use of a bleeding control station from a school resource officer or other appropriate district or school personnel who has received the training under Subdivision 3 to students enrolled at the campus in grade 3 or higher. Third graders. A bleeding control station required under this section must contain all of the following: required supplies in quantities determined appropriate by the superintendent of the district or the director of the school. 1. Tourniquets approved for use in battlefield trauma care by the Armed Forces of the United States. Allow me to stop right now. That's not good enough. I understand that the phrasing of that is going to really bother some people because it's real, but that's not actually great. I would suggest CAT Generation 7 tourniquets because there are studies demonstrating that they work on small limbs. Chest seals, compression bandages, bleeding control bandages, space emergency blankets, latex-free gloves, markers, scissors, instructional documents developed by the American College of Surgeons or the United States Department of Homeland Security detailing methods to prevent blood loss following a traumatic event. This in and of itself is commentary on the United States.
In case that went over anybody's head, they want your third grader to be field medics.
Mm-hmm. We're not going to stop what can kill them. We want you to be able to respond to the ones that don't get killed.
Right. Mm-hmm. We know it's going to happen.
Tommy, okay. We covered yesterday that we can't explain why Christian has two mommies. And Billy, we explained that we can't discuss why I don't have any pictures of my family on my desk. I'm not allowed to talk to you about why that is. And Billy, I'm sorry, remember, we can't talk about what it means to, with the 10 Commandments, those 3 or 4 you had questions about. We can't talk about that. All right, class. Now it's time for everybody to get together, get your field kits. This is like a live drill. Run, run, run. Tuck and roll, baby. Tuck and roll. Ginger, you no. Remember, you're second. You're second. You're keeping an eye out for the shooter so that Billy can be the one to get to the gauze. Makes perfect sense.
You don't want your child, because I'll be repeating myself over and over again. You don't want your child to learn anything about history because you don't want their feelings to be hurt. You want your child to know how to do a tourniquet, even though you don't not even updated on what the proper tourniquets are being used now. You want them to understand in the 3rd grade on how to apply pressure to a wound, stop the bleeding, CPR. Those classes that adults take.
I mean, hey, everybody needs to know CPR, right?
Everybody should know CPR. Let's start in the 3rd grade.
But I learned it in middle school, not grade school.
That's because, we're learning faster now. We're learning faster now. We got to bring it up, right? We're not teaching cursive, so we need to teach you we got to teach you tourniquet, okay? Now, that's what we're working on, everybody.
I don't know why
it's bananas. It's absolutely bananas.
When I learned CPR, even if I learned CPR as a kid, it was because somebody got shocked. Somebody touched something they shouldn't have. Somebody had.
I learned CPR in middle school because I took a class.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take a class. Somebody didn't take their medication at the right time and they passed out. Somebody had a medical diagnosis that wasn't known and they passed out. I would never in a million years would think that I would have to learn CPR because my classmate got shot.
I'm telling you, they have it is in Texas because or it might be Florida, but I don't remember. This is a really nice high school, super nice high school, and like they got like state of the art security systems with smoke that comes down from the ceilings to confuse the shooter, and remote locking of the doors, and they got lines drawn in the classroom so that it controls where the line of sight is, so the children know where to cluster behind and all that. I'm like, you putting all this money in to helping them avoid the shooter, when if you would put more effort into avoiding the shooter, you could put that money in, I don't know, learning. Right? But this real quick, this is a funny thing to me. It's funny to me. Why do the police officers say that it's so dangerous for them out there in the streets and for them to go into a live shooter situation? It's always about the bad guys got better guns, right? The bad guys have AR-14s and military grade weapons. So the police are afraid because they're given a sidearm, maybe a shotgun. Right. And they're supposed to go up against a guy with body armor and an assault rifle. So the police, this is what happened with Uvalde. Remember, folks, they couldn't go running in there because they didn't know where the shooter was, and the shooter could knock off like 4, 5, 6 cops before they even figure out where he is. That was their logic, okay? But now these same people are saying give the teachers a gun. Now, when I'm hearing them talking about giving the teachers a gun, they're talking about a sidearm. That's a pistol.
Yeah.
Okay. The least accurate weapon least accurate firearm you can give somebody is a pistol.
Right.
And kids are impressionable and they're silly. All right. Their brains ain't right. So the teacher is going to be constantly trying to keep the kid from trying to trick them into getting their gun, right? Because to the kids, it'll be a game, right? So you got that going on. So you say, oh, well, no, we're not going to have them put it on their body. They'll have a cabinet in the classroom that remains locked.
So then they
okay. So now we got a live shooter situation. Whoever classroom the shooter goes to, I'm sorry, you're not going to have time to get to the cabinet. We'll see what happens. But maybe the teacher across the hall can get to their cabinet.
What does a pistol do against an AR-15? Like,
but you don't
what?
understand.
If you got perfect aim, you can hit them in the face.
You don't understand, Theus. All we need is locked doors.
Yep.
A taller fence.
Yep, lock the doors.
One way in and one way out.
We need to put God back in schools.
Yeah, because God wasn't there when the 10 Commandments and God wasn't in prayer. That was when all those were in the school and they were, I don't know, segregation and a bunch of other stuff going on.
And blah, blah,
right.
Blah, blah. Everything was good back then. I mean, sure, my mother couldn't go past 38th Street, but oh well.
I can't remember where I heard this from. I really honestly can't. And I'll try to do it without being emotional because it's still an emotional statement. For the life of me, I cannot remember who said this. When I hear people we need to bring God back in school. We need to bring God back into people's lives. And the guy and whoever said it was like, so you don't think when somebody's in an active shooting situation that they're not praying to God?
Yeah, like they didn't cross their mind.
They're not saying, God, please don't have him kill me. God, please protect my kids. Please protect.
Here's the dark side of that, Marlon.
Some would, but some wouldn't.
Well, the dark side of that, though, well, I mean, like I say, everybody's a Christian in the foxhole, right? But so when they're shooting at you, a lot of people find God just for a little while, even if they don't believe in him. So that's one thing. But that aside, this is why I rankle when people talk about prayer changes things. And it's going to make some people mad. I know, it's cool. But prayer don't change nothing. Prayer changes people. All right? Difference. So prayer, God can give you guidance, give you strength. This is my opinion. I know everybody ain't agree. But God can give you strength and give you vision or whatever it is that you channeling through your God to become an instrument of change. But I have yet to see where prayer changed something. And I get mad. I actually get mad when people say that the prayers of the righteous avail as much, so you just don't have sufficient faith for your prayer to be made manifest. And I'm like, so are you telling me that all my forefathers that were in slavery, their prayers weren't good enough? They didn't avail enough? You telling me that every time a woman is being raped or being assaulted and she is praying for help and help doesn't come, her prayer wasn't good enough? You tell her, stop it. You don't have to lie. Prayer is a powerful, powerful force. But don't, to me, it cheapens what other people are going through when you say that, because I'm like, these people whose children were murdered in Uvalde, they were praying.
They certainly was.
These people who just got done in what just happened in Texas, praying. In fact, this is the Bible Belt. And there's a lot of contradictions in the Bible Belt. But one thing they do, they pray.
They pray.
So how do you cheapen all of these people's prayers with that? And then you say, well, hopes and prayer. What was it? Hopes and prayer? What's
thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers. Right?
Yep.
And yet, what are you praying for? Because obviously you not praying to go in there and go in session and debate some laws to protect our children. It's so frustrating, man. Like, we have all the power. If you're a believer, I don't care, you may be a believer, non-believer, or whatever you might have in your life, right? But if you're a believer, and you are founded on any of the Christian values, like I consider myself to be, you believe that you are a child of God. Well, where is your power? Where is your faith? Where is your strength? You always waiting on somebody else to do something.
Yep. And
you waiting on God to snap his fingers and something just change.
And I always
when he sent you to change it.
Yep.
And I always sit there and tell people, stop using God as a magician.
Yep.
As everything is a magic
just
trick.
Bellhop. Just bellhop.
Or a pit bull.
Get
I'm gonna sick him on you.
Yeah.
But faith without works is dead. Period.
Yep. All right, y'all. Let's move on because we ain't got that much time.
No, you wasn't too far off. You were right.
Mm-hmm.
And you never cared if you pissed those people off.
I do care when I upset people because if you, sometimes I can't help but upset you, especially if I'm upset. You upset me, right? Not you, but you know what I'm talking about. But if you're trying to move the needle on something, no, I'm not going to intentionally set out to upset you if I can avoid it, because nothing can get accomplished.
Right. All right, y'all. Let's move on. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt these stories was going to take up the majority of our time, but we do have enough to get into one story.